What if the biggest sporting event on Earth started with a nightmare? Not a nightmare for the fans, not a nightmare for the players, but a nightmare for FIFA itself. After years of planning, billions of dollars invested, and endless promises about a revolutionary new era of football, the 2026 FIFA World Cup finally kicked off. This was supposed to be FIFA's masterpiece, the first ever 48-team World Cup, the largest tournament in football history, hosted across the United States, Canada, and Mexico. A celebration of football's future. Instead, within hours of the opening matches, FIFA found itself facing questions nobody wanted to ask. Were the underdogs too weak? Had the tournament become too big? And were some of the world's biggest football nations already exposing a problem FIFA hoped nobody would notice? Let's break down exactly what happened on the opening days of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. For decades, the World Cup featured only 32 teams. It was exclusive, elite, difficult to qualify for. But FIFA President Gianni Infantino pushed for a dramatic expansion. The 2026 World Cup would feature 48 nations and 104 matches, the biggest tournament football has ever seen. The idea sounded exciting. More countries, more fans, more opportunities, more global representation. Smaller football nations that had never experienced the World Cup dream would finally get their chance. On paper, it looked like a win for everyone. But critics warned about one major danger. What happens when the gap between football giants and smaller nations becomes too large? Would fans witness historic fairy tales? Or embarrassing blowouts? FIFA believed the answer would be competitive balance. The opening matches would quickly put that theory to the test. The tournament officially began on June 11th. Host nation Mexico opened the World Cup with a comfortable 2-0 victory over South Africa. Later that day, South Korea defeated Czechia 2-1. Nothing unusual, nothing alarming. Exactly the kind of competitive football FIFA hoped to see. Then came June 12th. The United States took center stage in Los Angeles. Playing in front of a packed crowd, Team USA crushed Paraguay 4-1 in one of the most dominant opening performances in American World Cup history. Folarin Balogun scored twice. Gio Reyna added another stunning goal. The US looked faster, stronger, more organized. Paraguay simply couldn't keep up. Fans celebrated. American media exploded with excitement. But some observers were already asking uncomfortable questions. Was the competitive gap larger than expected? The real shock, however, was still coming. Then came Germany versus Curaçao. On paper, this looked like David versus Goliath. Germany, one of football's greatest nations. Curaçao, making one of the most unlikely appearances in World Cup history. At first, the underdog story looked alive. Germany scored early, but Curaçao shocked everyone by equalizing. For a brief moment, the impossible seemed possible. The tiny Caribbean nation had scored its first ever World Cup goal. Fans around the world loved it. Social media erupted. Could the biggest upset in World Cup history actually happen? The answer arrived quickly. Very quickly. Germany unleashed absolute chaos. Goal after goal after goal. By the final whistle, Germany had destroyed Curaçao 7-1. 7 goals. On the opening weekend of the World Cup, one of the most lopsided matches of the tournament so far. Instead of celebrating football's expansion, many fans immediately began debating whether some teams simply didn't belong at this level. And that conversation is exactly what FIFA feared. Here's the problem. FIFA sold the 48-team format as a way to grow football globally. But critics warned that expanding qualification would inevitably bring weaker teams into the tournament. When Germany wins 7-1. When powerhouse nations dominate smaller countries, people start questioning the entire concept. Suddenly, the conversation shifts away from football. Instead, people begin debating whether the tournament has become watered down, whether quality has been sacrificed for quantity, whether more teams actually means more mismatches. That's the nightmare scenario. Because FIFA wants fans talking about unforgettable moments, not structural flaws, not competitive imbalance, not whether expansion was a mistake. The optics become even worse because these discussions started almost immediately, not in the knockout rounds, not after weeks of football, on the opening days. Exactly when FIFA wanted the world focused on celebration and excitement. But there's another perspective, and it's an important one. Yes, Germany won 7-1, but remember something. Football history is full of blowouts. Even when the tournament had only 32 teams, Germany famously defeated Brazil 7-1 in the 2014 World Cup semifinal, and Brazil was one of the strongest teams on earth. Nobody argued Brazil didn't belong. Nobody demanded a smaller tournament. Sometimes football simply produces shocking score lines. Supporters of expansion also point out something else. Without the 48-team format, nations like Curaçao might never experience the World Cup stage. Millions of fans would never see their country represented. Young players would lose the opportunity to inspire future generations, and football's global growth would slow down dramatically. So while critics see a problem, supporters see progress. The debate is only beginning. The reaction online has been intense. Many fans praised Germany's incredible performance. Others joked that Germany's famous 7-1 scoreline had returned once again. Community reactions quickly filled social media and football forums after the final whistle. American fans were equally excited after the United States' dominant victory over Paraguay. Many described it as one of the most convincing World Cup performances in modern U.S. history. But mixed in with the celebration was a recurring question. Is this what the expanded World Cup will look like? Will we see more competitive matches? Or more score lines like Germany 7, Curaçao 1? Nobody knows yet. The tournament is still in its earliest stages, but the debate is already raging worldwide. So did FIFA's worst nightmare really come true? Maybe not completely. The stadiums are packed, the fans are engaged, the world is watching. But the opening days have undeniably created a challenge. Instead of talking only about football, many people are discussing the risks of expansion. The 48-team World Cup was supposed to prove that bigger is better. Now, FIFA must hope the rest of the tournament delivers dramatic upsets, close contests, and unforgettable stories that silence the critics. Because if more one-sided scorelines continue to appear, the biggest World Cup in history could become remembered for a very different reason. And that's a story FIFA never wanted to tell. What do you think? Has the 48-team World Cup improved football, or was expansion a mistake? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more World Cup coverage throughout the tournament. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.